Hello, biology students. Welcome to today's challenge, something that I'm calling genetics all around me. As I spend time at home and think about the lessons that Mr. Hort and I are trying to get you guys to learn, I can't help but notice how those lessons show up in my own household. So today, you're going to apply your knowledge of genetics to three challenges found in the Novick household. Good luck, guys. Challenge one will be about some flowers I found. Challenge 2 will be about Basil and Dorcas, who you will meet. Challenge 3 will be about the Novick family. All right, so let's go over some key features of this assignment, and we'll also talk about how those features will help you meet the expectations. So here you see a vocabulary bank. Now, this vocabulary bank uses words from throughout the unit prior to distance learning and from what you guys did last week. Please notice all of those classic terms: allele, dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, genotype, and phenotype. And then stuff that is new to us as of last week: monohybrid, cross, incomplete dominance, codominance, polygenic slash dihybrid crosses. These terms are going to well, you'll probably use most, if not all, of these terms at some point in today's challenges. If you don't know what these mean, then think about where you're going to get that information prior to beginning those challenges. You can open up last week's PowerPoint presentation, or whatever else you got to do to remember what those terms mean. All right, so today's challenges are going to involve a little bit of writing, and I want you to consider how the phrases below will help you meet today's challenges. So writing for science could make you want to use the phrase "as a result" or "based on" to describe evidence and the conclusions. Another good one is "the effect of blank is blank." Another great way just to communicate cause and effect. Therefore is amazing for describing the relationship between evidence, the reasoning you're using, and your conclusion. All right, let's keep going through this thing. You all know a lot of what you did last week involved Punnett squares. So you can imagine you're going to want to use Punnett squares to demonstrate your knowledge and conclusions relative to these three challenges. So if, as you compose your answers, you want to use Punnett squares, the way to do it is to take your cursor, go to the bottom right-hand side of the screen, and start sliding your way across and up until you highlight the whole thing. Then on your keyboard, just as I'm doing right now, at the same time, hit Control and C. Now it's copied to your clipboard. So when you go to meet the challenges, anywhere it says start to compose your answer here, if you want to start with your Punnett square, you put your cursor there, hit Control and V, and your Punnett square shows up. Of course, you'll want to make sure it's spaced in a way where what you're trying to communicate is clear to Mr. Hort and I. So just be thoughtful, not just about the substance of what you're saying, but the style with which you present the information. All right, now let me just return the document to its original form. All right, great. So students, challenge one, as we said, is going to be about some flowers. I'll leave it to you to read and make observations, but maybe you're starting to think about the kind of observations you'll need to make. Maybe you'll start thinking about the kind of questions you're going to want to ask. And then the challenge for what you do with this is, in what way are these flowers demonstrative of any of these concepts? List some key vocabulary. It says you can compose 1 to 2 paragraphs or create hypothetical Punnett squares to communicate your analysis. All right, so what does it mean to create hypothetical Punnett squares to communicate your analysis? Well, doing that just means you have to choose how you're going to represent the alleles for any given phenotype. You know, I am not certain, nor do I want to coach you as to what kind of observations you're going to make about exactly how any given phenotype of these flowers is represented in its genotype. So when we say hypothetical, you get to create it. Just remember that there are some standards to guide how you make notations of genotype relative to any given phenotype. All right, so that's really the most important parts. The rest I think you guys can read for yourself. I suppose here, if I'm introducing you guys to Basil and Dorcas, just note that there's a YouTube link. Takes you to a short movie where you can see the dogs, and soon we're really going to kind of zoom in so you can get some details of their hair. Here's a picture of what their mom looked like. I want to emphasize, this isn't their mom. This is something I just found on Google Images, but to the best of my recollection, that's what their mom looked like. And then, of course, the final challenge is going to meet Mr. Novick and Mrs. Novick and their three sons, Gabriel, Frank, and Leo. And you guys are going to do kind of like a genetic analysis of us. Here are the questions. For example, you're going to want to describe what phenotypes I have in common with my kids, what phenotypes Miss Novick has in common with her kids, what phenotypes my kids might present that my wife nor I do. And then, this challenge you guys will get familiar with after 1 and 2. And then a bonus, demonstrate mastery. And I really, really kind of want to emphasize, I'll read this, guys, if you can create and solve a challenge of your own, like the ones that I created here, then you're really demonstrating mastery. I'll tell you, I think I get this stuff. And that's what leads my ability to even compose exercises like this for you. And I'll just remember, I, Mr. Novick, learned all this stuff at the same time as you. If I can see our lessons in my life, you can too. And now I challenge you. Can you find examples of key concepts around you? Show us. All right, students, thank you for watching this video. As always, if you need help, reach out to Mr. Hort or myself via email or the Google Classroom. We'll get back to you promptly. Have a wonderful Monday.